Hello everyone! Today's video is going to be on dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. I was diagnosed with DID several months ago, although I suspected I had it for several years, but due to the stigma, I was too scared to seek help or a diagnosis. Dissociative identity disorder is a rare disorder involving dissociation, memory fragmentation, and the presence of two or more personality states. In 1994, the DSM-4 changed the classification of multiple personality disorder to DID because it better reflects our understanding of how DID forms and develops from childhood. Let me break down what the elements of DID are. What is dissociation? How are identities formed? What makes this a disorder? As a child, we all begin in separate ego states or behavior states that form together into one integrated personality state. This is why a toddler can have such drastic changes in mood from moment to moment seemingly illogically. If a child experiences repetitive emotional, physical, or sexual abuse before the age of 9 or the age of 6, depending on the source, and the child dissociates as a coping mechanism, these ego states may not come together into a singular personality state through development and growth. Instead, the brain may compartmentalize the trauma, putting up amnesic barriers between the ego states using dissociation. This is how alters develop, which are alternative personality states. The alters are the I in DID. These are one of the most well-known symptoms of dissociative identity disorder. This is a disorder because involuntary dissociation causes mental health conditions that involve experiencing a disconnection between thoughts, feelings, surroundings, memories, behavior, and identity, escaping your surroundings in unwanted and unhealthy ways. This causes problems managing everyday life. Dissociation caused by a disorder typically comes about as a reaction to similar circumstances, experiences too painful or events too shocking, which help push away not only memories, but difficult realities. Symptoms of a dissociative disorder depend in part on the type of disorder and can range from gaps in memory to disconnected identities. Times of stress can absolutely make symptoms worse and therefore make them easier to spot. Now let's talk about dissociation itself. It's a common thing that can happen to anyone. For most people, dissociation is when you're driving and your mind is so busy with other things that you miss your exit, or you're just so focused that when you get home, you can't really remember the drive. It's kind of like the brain's low power mode, but it can also be the way your brain copes with things that it otherwise would find too overwhelming. Dissociation occurs when someone has disconnected from their body, memories, or emotions. There are different kinds of dissociation. There's depersonalization, which is being disconnected from your feelings and your physical body. Your body's actions become remote or distant, like you're watching yourself. There's dissociative amnesia, which is where your memories become disconnected. There are gaps where you can't remember specifics about events or actions. It can be something like going to a movie and being so overwhelmed or triggered that you can't remember anything after getting to your seat or arriving at the cinema. The last is derealization. When your mind enters a state of derealization, the world seems strange, otherworldly, and unreal. For instance, sounds could become flat and foggy noise. It's possible for someone to become disoriented quite easily, which can be hazardous to themselves or others, especially when driving. Now we're going to circle back around to look at dissociative identity disorder again, but as a whole diagnosis. It's far more subtle and more common than Hollywood narratives would have us believe. Only around 5% of people with DID have dramatic switching as opposed to subtle switching between alternative personality states. And it's not as dangerous as they like to represent. People with DID are no more likely to hurt anyone than someone without the disorder. If switching between alters were commonly more dramatic, then DID wouldn't be so under or misdiagnosed. On average, a patient with DID can spend 7 or more years seeking mental health assistance before receiving a correct diagnosis. Dissociative identity disorder is very different from other diagnoses such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. But since DID develops as a covert coping mechanism and has a little degree of understanding, even amongst mental health professionals, misdiagnosis is incredibly common. Dr. Bethany Brandt, a leading expert in the study of dissociative disorders, reports that it's typical for patients with DID to initially be seeking help with depression, poor sleep, PTSD, eating disorders, or even substance abuse problems before they're diagnosed with DID. However, also according to Dr. Brandt, with the rise of social media awareness, it is slowly becoming more and more common for some to directly seek help in regards to what they think are dissociative states. This is fantastic news! If you dissociate uncontrollably or you have other symptoms, it is so important to talk to a professional mental health specialist. However, many mental health professionals have not been trained in assessing dissociative states, an educational gap that'll hopefully be fixed as awareness of these disorders increases. Thank you so much for watching and helping me stomp on stigma today. If you found this video useful and came here for this kind of content, feel free to leave a comment below. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as leave a comment telling me how you enjoyed it. Huge shout out to my patrons! Piccolo-Rama, Orion, and JD for supporting me. Thank you to my manager and #1 supporter, the Occultist, for editing my scripts, helping me with my dishes, nagging me about my laundry, telling me to drink water and take care of myself. Oh, and also helping me with my thumbnails. And thank you, Dan, for being my video editor. Have a fantastic day, lovelies. Make sure to drink water and take breaks. Remember, the laundry monster is not what it seems. See you next time.